Good evening, everybody. We have 15 participants. Dr. Mirza has turned the recording on, so for a while already. So if you want to listen back to some of the interesting conversation that has happened before some of us logged on, Dr. Mirza and I put this greenhouse chat together. And we do this without any preferences for one company over the other or one product over the other. This is our unbiased, honest opinion. And we invite guests from different companies. And we would like you as growers to use common sense when you're using the recommendations that are presented here. And use the labels if there was anything that needed to be read. And as responsible adults, we use the products according to what it's supposed to be used for. And Mirza and I enjoy this greenhouse chat tremendously. And we have two guests both from Ontario with completely different backgrounds. And because it's 9 o'clock for them, we are going to let them do their presentation and then go to Mirza's inbox afterwards, if time allows. First of all, ladies first, we are introducing Tanya Carvello. And Tanya is a good friend of the industry and also a good friend of mine. Her and I hang out whenever we can, although she's in Ontario and I'm in Alberta. But she's an amazing person, and she is just so motivated about getting plants into people's hands, about, color. And if we're lucky, she'll show us some pictures of her own house, because she gets to trial some of this new stuff at her home. And it's absolutely gorgeous where she lives. So Tanya, you have permission to share your screen.
Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. I am going to just find my screen share here. I want to turn it into, can you see everything?
Yeah, we could see the screen. Yeah.
Would you prefer a slideshow, or is it big enough?
This is big enough. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You can maximize it.
Okay. So I will do this. And then, of course, as I do every year, I will send this off to you so that in a PDF format so that you can share it with your group.
That would be great.
Okay, so as Michael said, he's a very dear friend, and we value each other's opinion and honesty, and we have some very candid conversations about all genetics, all breeders, and just the horticultural industry as a whole. And I try to promote not just breeding companies. I like to promote genetics that aren't from my own breeding companies. I like to promote our industry. It's very important to me. I think we color the world and we lift people's spirits in a time of uncertainty. And I think that we work in an incredible industry. So I do like to share a lot. Unfortunately, I don't think I have any photos of my yard in this presentation tonight. I do approximately 54 trial containers at my home, mixing different genetics, different colors and varieties that are coming to the market in the next 2 to 3 years. And I really enjoy that part of my job as well. So I'm going to start with Selecta and go through a couple of the new introductions that you'll be seeing on social media. I know Michael has gotten his hands on some of these varieties as well. These will be 2024 introductions, and if you get an opportunity to get out to a trial this year over the summer, you will be seeing some of these varieties at those trials, Cultivate, California Spring Trials, and so forth. So starting up, we have one of my favorite introductions from Selecta. This is a Pachoa. So this is taking the best of the best genetics from both petunias and calibrachoas and crossbreeding them to get a Pachoa or a pet cow. What that means is you're going to get the excellent branching from a calibrachoa, weather tolerance, the best of both of these genetics, incredible garden performance and container performance. What I like about a Pachoa, and there's already some on the market, is that these blooms are exactly in between the size of a petunia and the size of a calibrachoa. So we get extremely vibrant colors. We're starting the series off with 4 colors. I had the opportunity to bring these home last year, and I ran out of space. So I planted them in my mom's garden as opposed to using them in containers. And she has a very large property, and I put the pink at the very back of her property, and she could see it all summer long, just held up in the garden. It was incredible. They all match vigor and timing. Sorry, I have puppies. And they all mix very, very well together. So again, very, very bold colors, very controlled habit. Sorry, I have a puppy. Come here. Excellent cold and rain tolerance. These are being petrocious. Come here. Come. Yes, be a part of the conversation.
There we go.
Okay. So these can all be moved outside into cold frames the same time you would be moving out, say, a wave petunia. So they are really great for Mother's Day shipping when it's still cold outside. They won't take a snowfall, but they will take the cooler temperatures, which is great for us up here in Canada. Couple of new caliber koas from Selecta. We have the Neo series, which is our vigorous series. These are your larger baskets, 12-inch and up, larger containers. We have a double pink. Now we have an existing pink, and I do like the doubles, but I have a problem with them in the fact that they're all small. They tend to be very small blooms. So you have to put them in combinations with larger flowers to even make them pop. This new double pink, that bloom size is about the size of a loonie. So for a double caliber koa, that is quite large on the market. The other new introduction we have in Neo is called Red Hawaii. For 2023, we introduced Pink Hawaii. So now this is a follow-up sister to it with the bright red. We also have some Unos to introduce this year. We have Pink Radiance, which that is the North American name. In Europe, it was launched in 2022, and it was up for the Floral Star Award. It did get beat out by Bee's Knees, but in Europe, it was called this horrible name, Fancy Francie. And it's the name of a cartoon parrot in Europe. And we just didn't like the name. So when we brought it to North America, pardon me, we gave it a new name. The other new one is Rose Plus I and Blue Star. Now our Uno series, unlike the Neos that I just talked to you about, these are our early series, and they are a more controlled, pardon me, tidier habit. So early and more compact. I'm just going to take a drink of water. Sorry. So two new caliber koas in our new Neo series, and 3 new ones in our Unos. I better not lose my voice. I'm going to be talking a lot at cast. We have a couple foliage introductions from Selecta this year, which is really new for us, but they launched them in Europe last year. I saw them at week 24 flower trials in Europe, and I fell in love with them. So the first 2 are AGGAs. We have a burgundy glow, which is a slightly lighter color with a burgundy tips. And then we have chocolate chip, which is this rich, deep, dark green with almost a black color to the foliage. Very, very interesting foliage components that we're going to be adding for 2024. Pardon me. So we talked a little bit about this last year when I was with your group here on Zoom. It was in April, I believe. We were waiting for our farm to be certified. Well, in November, we became the first offshore farm to be certified to ship to North America dianthus cuttings. Super, super exciting for Selecta. So forever and a day, we've been able to ship varieties to Canada. The problem arose when we couldn't ship them from the farm to Canada back to the United States, or from the farm to the United States. Now we can do that freely, ship to the US, ship from Canada to the US, and that enables us to start bringing over more of the Selecta dianthus. Selecta first came to the market as a cut carnation breeder, and in my opinion, this is what they started doing, and this is what they are known for, and man, do they produce some of the best carnations and dianthus on the market. This first series is called Vivacia. These are really, really, really big double blooms, bigger than a toonie. 20% bigger than our Super Troopers. So I always like to kind of give you a visual. So if you had a 1-gallon pot, these Vivacias are going to finish the same height as that 1-gallon pot. So double it. Okay, so you get a nice robust plant, fills out a gallon container, They're not perennials for us, either yourselves in Alberta or for myself here, but very, very colorful. They can take a light snowfall. They can take a hard frost. We can put these into the garden centers as early as April for Alberta, and they're still going to produce and give you color even with the colder temps. This was week 24 in the Netherlands at the Selecta trials, and you can just see those colors. Like that orange is crazy. Like you don't see an orange pot carnation in that color. It's absolutely stunning. Oh, I went too fast. So the next series we're introducing is already an existing series from Europe. We're just now bringing it over because of the farm certification. These are a premium dianthus, but I prefer to call these a carnation because these are going to be, you're going to be able to get these to bloom for not only Valentine's Day, but also as a garden dianthus. So they're very, very versatile. If a consumer purchased this Capiton series for Valentine's Day and put it outside in May, they're going to then have the value of that container from February until November. So very, very long shelf life, very, very long blooming power, super, super fragrant. Again, these are much bigger. So I would even go bigger than a gallon. You could do them in a gallon, but to show them finished, I would go 8-inch and up. And my favorite introduction in this series has got to be this new Magnifica. I'm sure you have seen or heard me talk about Pink Kisses in the past. This Magnifica is kind of taking Pink Kisses, and it's about 6 times the size of a Pink Kisses bloom. So it's absolutely stunning. The picture on the far right, that is a 6-inch pot. So you can see the bloom count on that. So these are very early to bloom. So these can work for Valentine's Day. And again, the consumer can take them outside in the summer, in the spring, and they will have them all the way until a heavy snowfall. I like to look for things that give value to the consumer, especially in the times that we're seeing right now. I think, we've seen a trend where they're starting to watch their pennies. Not that I blame them, I'm doing the same, but they want to get value out of that plant. This is considered a perennial variety. These are our Everlast. We've already had these in Canada. We're just introducing 2 new colors. We have Cherry Swirl and Neon Pink. We probably have about 15 colors in this Everlast series. We have a lot of them. They're great perennials for any perennial gardeners that you have in your group. Bloom early spring and bloom all summer long. And then we have, I kind of call this my grandmother's dianthus. I remember my grandmother having dianthus in the garden, and it kind of created like a pillow. This is that traditional dianthus look. We call it Pashmina. Hardy to zone 5A. Again, going to give you color from spring all the way through summer. No vernalization required. And these are a very fast perennial crop for spring. And I do have an overwintering dianthus trial. The liners just shipped. I don't know if you're familiar with Vanstone Nurseries in Manitoba. They do a very large perennial trial, and I have shipped all of these perennial types there. So I'll be going there this August to see, and then I'll go back again next year to see them again. On the Selecta One North America website, if you go into the Carnation and Dianthus part of the page, we have a very extensive scheduling available. You can go on, you can type in your variety that you like. It'll give you exact scheduling for when you want to finish. This is all new to the website, and it's just a very handy tool to have. Going on to petunias, Headliner series, our #1 selling petunia series for Selecta. We have a couple of new colors. We have Lavender Picotee. I've been seeing this in trials for 3 years. It is so, so pretty. Just saw it down at Costa Farms a couple of weeks ago, and they had it in the garden beds. Just really, really nice with that white picotee and the dark, dark veining in the eye. And you can see here we have 26 colors in our Headliner series. So very, very extensive, medium vigor, 10-inch, 12-inch baskets and containers. Okay, so you're going to be looking at this and going, Tanya, that's night sky on the bottom. It's not. It's very hard for me to show you in this picture what it actually looks like. I'm hoping, Michael, that Dustin was able to get you samples of this. If you imagine,
it was, and it is indeed quite a bit darker than night sky, Tanya.
Yes.
Yeah, we just pulled some blooms off yesterday, actually. Yep.
It reminds me of imagine your darkest pair of jeans. That's kind of the color. It's a really dark, almost black denim blue. So we were on the fence, do we introduce it? And we all decided, yes, we have to introduce it because night sky is our #1 selling petunia at Selecta. But the #1 grievance I hear is, man, we love that thing, but we have to, we really have to PGR it and really tone it down. This is a more compact, very well branched like night sky, but more compact, kind of little brother to night sky. And we have upgraded the blue. I think the original headliner blue, I remember that from, I'm going to say 12 years ago. So it was time for an upgrade. So now it times out with the rest of the headliners, matches in vigor. So much, much better to go in with the headliner series. You'll have to tell me what you think of that, that new sky type, Michael. We have first to the market, a double sky type. This is going in our Sweet Sunshine double petunia series. And just an FYI, there's another color coming for 2025, but we decided to hold back. We have a couple options on a couple different parents of it, and we want to decide which one is best. But we're starting with magenta sky. So come here. So I just saw this down at Costa Farms, and they had it in containers. They had it in the bed. Come here, come. And it was absolutely beautiful. I love, love, love the color, and it kept its speckles. It kept the dark magenta. There wasn't one bloom that had transitioned out to all white. And that's always a concern when you get into something like this. And none of them reverted. They all stayed with the magenta core. So really, really nice. These are 2 other new colors in that series, Sweet Sunshine. So Sweet Sunshine, what we've kind of did is took this series and revamped it. We needed to work with the existing parents, bring in some new blood. Typically, double petunias can be rather flat on top. You can see here on the blueberry vein, we wanted more of a mounded habit. So you'll be seeing us coming up with upgrades in these double petunias every year with colors that we have. These are early, so double petunias typically are late. These are early and will time out really nicely for Mother's Day. We have a couple of early season crops that we're bringing to market for 2024. We have this Ericium. This Ericium I've been watching for a couple of years, and then last year when we were in Germany, we've got it nailed down. They all match in vigor and timing, and we decided it was time to introduce them. That magenta glow is absolutely stunning. These are day length neutral. You're going to have these ready for end of April. So these are going to do really well with pansies, violas, alyssum, any kind of early combos. These are going to give you a really nice centerpiece in an early combo. I remember back in the day, we used to use stock in our early combos. And this is something with these vibrant colors that I would definitely want to be trying in those pansy combos. Another early crop we're introducing is a new Nemesia series. These are super fragrant. They make a really great addition to an early combo as well. Not quite as upright and kind of, stovepipey as an Ericium. They're a little more open than an Ericium, but they do beautifully with a viola and alyssum in a mixed combination. Very, very fragrant. That yellow is super fragrant. So really nice early season addition to your early crops in the garden center. This one's interesting. We have been trialing this for a while. A lot of people like euphorbia in mixes because it kind of peaks up everywhere in the mix. But then we have other growers coming to us saying, no, I really want that punch of white to kind of really stay in one spot. So we have upgraded our compact euphorbia to give you this really dense ball of white blooms. You can see our existing Lorraine euphorbia on the right and the new version on the left. Way more flower power, just creates like a supersized golf ball of white blooms. I was talking to Dustin today. He is super excited about these, and I was trying to explain to him kind of their purpose and where they go. So I saw these week 24 flower trials last year and absolutely fell in love with them, but had a totally different mindset of where I would use them as opposed to where they're using them in Europe. So these have multi-purpose. When I saw these, I thought of Christmas combos, either with poinsettias or with fresh greens. They're a very dense, compact, fragrance, some of them very, very fragrant. Like that Luigi has a really nice minty scent to it. These evergreens are super cool. But then I had people who I've been speaking to who want to use it in early spring combos or in 12-inch planters. So I have a feeling this is going to become a very versatile product. The one thing they are is extremely compact. So you wouldn't want to put these in a 8-inch or 10-inch container by themselves. They belong in a 4-inch pot, or they belong in a mixed container, in a 10 or 12-inch mixed container. They're not going to get much bigger than a cantaloupe, like full size, all the way around, just a ball. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking of trialing them, where you might want to use them. That's why I think I envisioned them in more Christmas containers or late fall containers. This is kind of a close-up of the foliage. So, I mean, you look at that one, the Spock or the Watson, you can see why I maybe thought of using these in a Christmas combo. And you can see the top pictures. Those are pictures that I took last year in Europe. And they really aren't much bigger than a small cantaloupe. So they're not going to be ideal to sell in a container, a large container by themselves. They're not going to give you much height. You want to use them in mixes. Osteospermum, we have an extensive line of Osteospermum selecta and super excited. I think I like that Zion Pink Orbit the most. Very, very vibrant, holds its white ring, super cool color, fits perfectly with the Zion series. So they are early, excellent to use in end of April, and will keep flowering right through until November. We have the Zion Orange Burst, and then the Rose Surprise. So the Rose Surprise opens up that pastel pink, and then as the bloom ages, it ages to that pastel yellow. So at any given time, you'll have 2 to 3 different colors on one flower. We also have a new 4D color called Pink Ice. As you can see here in the picture, that is in a 10-inch trial pot. Super color, holds their color, and they also stay open as you go into dusk, which is really cool because typically the 4Ds will close up on you, but these ones will stay open. A couple of new Trixies, only 2 that I'm going to call out. There's a lot of upgrades and a lot of new ones. I like this one because it's incorporating San Vitalia. I think San Vitalia is a greatly underutilized item in our industry and combos. And I just love that it holds its yellow flower power all summer long and doesn't burn out. And another one is using the new Strawberry Sky. This one's called Romance in Bloom. This one got a lot of votes down at Costa Farms a couple of weeks ago. So a lot of people like those reds and whites and pinks together. This one is Sunshiny Day, and it's with that new Lascar Orange Lava that we introduced for this year, for 2023. Very, 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 very vibrant. And that's what I have for Selecta. I'm going to quickly go over a couple of fall floor plant items. I know I'm taking up a lot of your time, so please cut me off if I'm going too much. I tend to talk a lot.
We're good. We're good. We're growers. We always want to look for new things. So we're glad you're showing us.
You'll have my email. Feel free to email me anytime to ask me anything about what you've seen tonight. We have an Archangel Angelonia series with 9 colors already existing in the series. What we didn't have was a really, really vibrant red. We do have that now. Our dear friend Laura Macer bred this for us. This is going to be called Ruby Sangria. They had it down at Costa Farms in a mix with the white Archangel Angelonia. Man, was it ever beautiful. They had it in a nice big 12-inch pot. Very, very vibrant. I love Angelonia. I like these items that are going to keep giving people flower power right through to the snowfall, because our seasons tend to get shorter and shorter every year. So here you can see the whole series. So a vast amount of colors in this Angelonia series. This one is super cool. This is Biddens Be Alive Double Orange. Really, really big blooms, bigger than Toonie's. I'd say almost double the size of a Toonie. And when I saw this, it's a great pollinator plant, so it's great for the summer. But I picture this in like fall combos as well, because the Bidens, once established, can take a frost. So these are going to work really, really well with your late season combinations going into the garden center. This is a brand new one for us. This is Cleome. So this is something I didn't realize was, not only is it great as a deer resistant item, it's also a pollinator magnet. So this large picture, this was taken down in Chicago in Area 51, which is our big gated off area with all of our future trials that we're doing. And when I walked in here, not only was there monarch butterflies, there was hummingbirds, there was bees. I was like, okay, we have to introduce this plant. This thing is awesome. Everyone's talking about pollinators. So, and there's a lot of Cleomes on the market. There's seed varieties, there's vegetative varieties. This one is much more compact. So in that container that you see there, that's a 12-inch container. That is at the end of August. So that is as big as it's going to get. It's not going to get unruly. You can see it's not splitting open. That's 3 cuttings in that pot. So it still has a very controlled growth habit and very soft thorns. Was a big one that our breeder wanted to make sure was that it was easier to handle for the grower and the end consumer. So you can grab the stalk, you can pinch off flowers, you can do whatever you have to do, and you're not going to end up with sore fingertips. Fall Flora plant has an extensive line of coleus. We kind of have your micros, your compacts, your mediums, and your high vigor. This one is going to fall into our medium vigor. This is going to be called Solar Flare. You can see there in that picture, that picture is taken in August, and there is no fade. You still have a strong, strong red, not in flower. That is one of the big things that a lot of people don't know, is that when we do our trialing for coleus, if it goes into flower in Texas, which we consider our most extreme trial for all of our plant material, if it goes into flower before week 32 in Texas, we won't introduce it. Because as much as the end consumer might say, oh, I like my coleus when it's in flower, oh, that's so pretty, we all know that that locks up the plant. As soon as it goes into flower, that plant stops producing, the colors will start to fade. It just will, I call it the limp biscuit in the garden. Once it goes into flower, that's it. It's not going to be performing for me anymore like it should be. So this is one of those varieties that made the cut, and I'm super happy with the color red. I think it's really, really, really nice color. This was the #1 pick at Costa Farms. This is called Lantana. We have actually went to trademark the name Dragon Fruit, and we got stopped at the last minute, and we've had to rename it and call it Passion Fruit. So when you start to see it at trials this year, it'll be called Passion Fruit. For the last 2 years trialing, it was Dragon Fruit. But trademark rules, so we have to obey. This is kind of the very first, if you think of a headliner petunia, this Lantana grows like that. So it gives you center height and then branches over vigorously. So this fills out baskets. That's 3 cuttings in a 12-inch basket there. Super, super vibrant, great pollinator plant. Actually, people were telling me down at Costa, they thought it looked like candy, that it was fake. That's how bright it was. So fantastic color. 3 new colors in our Shamrock series this year. Shamrocks are our kind of a ball. You can see here in the pictures, they literally create a ball, big mounded color. And when I put these in a combination, what I like about them is they kind of help lift up the softer plants. So if you have a petunia or calibrachoa, they help give structure to that basket because they are so densely branched and so strong. So we have a rose gold, we have an orange flame, and then the color that I'm most excited about is this new red. So this is Area 51 again. These are 12-inch pots. You can see against our highest competitors from other breeding companies, the Shamrock Red is the first one, and the other two are existing colors that are already on the market. So we're pretty excited about this one. Then we have some ball floor plant petunias. We introduced a Sure Shot series this year for 2023. This series is a medium vigor mounded series from ball floor plant. And what I like about it is that it is weather tolerant. So it can go down to 2 degrees Celsius. And the way that it's branched is like a basket. So when the wind and rain beat down these petunias, when the breeder was showing me inside the plants, they kind of have this give like a basket. So you don't get those open gaping holes in the middle of your petunias when they get extreme weather conditions. So this year we have a red, a hot pink, a pink vein, and a raspberry cheesecake that we're adding to the already existing lineup of these other colors. So the blueberries and cream was a super big hit for this year. And we also have now the addition of these new 4 colors. So really rounding out the series. And again, 2 degrees Celsius. So really great when we have, we want to get color early spring. So here they are in trial pots down in Chicago. These are 12-inch pots. And you can see the nice rounded ball habit of them. We have another 2 new petunias. The lemon berry is a very common type of color pattern that you see on the market. So we needed it in this series. So now we've got it. It doesn't really like, blow me away. This burgundy bliss, this one I was really impressed with. I really love the habit. And I really love the rich burgundy saturation. We saw this as well down at Costa Farms, and the daytime temps were 32 degrees. And it held its color, no fade, kept its white rim, absolutely beautiful. They had it in the ground and in containers. So, I mean, I've been watching this now for 3 years across Canada and in other trial sites across the United States, and very, very impressed with this petunia. This one was really exciting. When we introduced the Midnight Gold 3 years ago, it went viral. I've never seen anything like it. It blew up. People went crazy for it. They still love it. It is a very strong seller for us. Then we introduced Pink Diamond in 2022. And now this year we're introducing Blue Sapphire, Frosted Blue Sapphire. And I actually brought this one home last year from my AGT trial site here in Ontario and had it out front of my house until the end of October. And it had blooms all up on top. Make no mistake, it's a double petunia. When you got to clean it, it's gross and it's snotty, but when it's in full bloom, and it has quite the color show. So really, really excited for this new one, the Frosted Blue Sapphire. We have a Rose Thumbergia. We already have a Sunny Lemon and an Orange Glow and an Arizona Glow. So this is just another addition to that Thumbergia series that we carry. I'm excited about this one. I'm mixing it. I've designed a bed at the Toronto Botanical Gardens this summer, and I'm mixing this new rose sensation with the Black Tower Ipomea, and they're going to be climbing up a 12-foot trellis wall. So I'm really excited to see how the pink and the black Ipomea look on this wall. I'll be sure to post pictures. And a couple new mix masters. Serendipity. This is actually a combination that I made last year. I work with our young lady that does mixes. Her name is, excuse me, Becky. And I work with Becky, and this is a combo that I created and helped come up with the name. So Serendipity is 3 different cabaret colors. And then another one we have is Piece of Cake. This has got a double Vogue pink petunia, a verbena, and the cabaret strawberry parfait calibrachoa. And then we've mixed some of our Cannonball petunias for a very bright Before You Know It combination, just kind of giving people inspiration. And then a Sure Shot combination, which was the petunias I just talked to you about. We have a pink vein and a white combination. I think that's it. So I will save this and I will send this off to Michael, and everyone is welcome to have a copy of it. And feel free to email me with absolutely any questions or anything. If you say, hey, I'd really like to see this, can you send me pictures at a trial? I am more than happy to do that as well.
Tanya, could you
Awesome.
stop sharing, please? Then
Yes.
end of slideshow and stop sharing.
Yep.
Awesome. Just type your email address in the chat, one more time so that people have that before they get the presentation, in case something comes up, that they'd
Want
like
me to
talk
quickly
about.
answer anything here?
Yeah.
Okay, do the radiants behave like? Okay, so the radiance, that pink radiance, Calibrachoa, it is not like the chameleons. First of all, it's earlier than the chameleons and less vigorous than the chameleons.
Less vigorous than the chameleons?
Yes, it's a very
But
compact early ball.
But I was looking at that variation of colors, isn't it? Would those blooms be different colors under different night temperature, under different temperatures, like the chameleon?
So they'll be darker under cooler night conditions. So I saw that in Europe, in Germany, where it's cooler at night, it's a much darker pink. And in the Netherlands, when they had warmer evening temperatures, it was a softer pink and a softer yellow. But what's unique about that is it's a double. It's not actually a single, it's a double. So it's really cool.
Yeah, but I was wondering if the color difference was based on the temperature or if it was based on the age of the flower, like
on the age of the flower.
So
as the flower ages, it turns yellow. Okay. And in cooler night temperatures, like you will have earlier on in the season, that'll be a much darker plant, darker pink, darker yellow. And as you get into the warmer temps in through August, it'll take on a lighter pink and a lighter yellow.
Okay.
So, yes, you are right there.
Okay.
So what would I call a carnation and a dianthus? Yeah. Good question. A dianthus, I'm going to call anything we're going to put in the ground or in an outdoor container. Anything that we're going to be selling as an indoor potted plant, we would be calling a carnation. You're going to sell.
That's how you would identify it, not based on the shape or the doubleness of the flower, or okay. Nope.
All on indoor, outdoor. So pot carnation goes inside, dianthus goes outside, and then those varieties I was telling you about that'll be ready for Valentine's Day, those then will transition and go outside. So they're very, very versatile.
Okay. So the first kiss and the I love yous that people are buying, they can move them outside later, but put them inside earlier.
Yep.
Yeah, yep. But is the dianthus typically bigger?
Pardon me?
Is a dianthus typically bigger, spreads more than a carnation than two, or
nope.
Not really?
Nope. Pot carnation classification, we use that also in times of earliness. So if it can be early as early as February or March or Easter, we're going to throw that into the pot carnation because it can go inside. Okay. If we have to really, really push and force for it to be ready in those time frames, we're going to move them into May and call them a dianthus. Okay.
Well, based on your recommendation last summer, we rooted we always had trouble with carnations. They would never root if we brought them in week 3 or 4. These ones we brought in week 44 to 47, and they rooted right away, almost 100%. And just based on what you said, because we grew them all winter long, like it's an expensive crop because we grew them at 16 degrees for a long time, and it took forever. But now they have lots of branches on them. So when we're shipping those plugs, they are first of all, they didn't yellow. The bottom leaves didn't yellow at all, even though they're very dense. And we could just grab and ship them basically, and there's going to be lots of flower heads on those things.
Yeah, and once your customer plants that, Michael, and it gets into the greenhouse, it's just gonna.
Okay. So when you give it space, when you give it a larger pot,
once you get that potted up and give it space, it is going to go.
Good. We'll plant some of ourselves too, just to see what it looks like.
It'll be nice and get your feedback. That'd be awesome.
Okay, good.
Sweet Sunshine Magenta, does it match the others in habit? It matches the new Sweet Sunshines. So the ones that we're upgrading to get a more mounded trailing habit, It's bred along with those other two new ones. So you're going to have a nice basket double.
But the Sweet Sunshine, in comparison to the old double waves, the Sweet Sunshine blooms all the way along the stem. This one does too. Like it fits
Yes,
in
they
that
do.
same ground.
Yep. So they had them in the landscape at Costa, and they were spilling out over the raised beds.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful. How tall is the Whimsy? How tall is the Whimsy? I think you're going, if you put it into a gallon pot, again, the same kind of mentality, double that gallon pot. So
Okay.
the height you have on the bottom, you're going to get that up on the top.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Hebe does not bloom. They're just like an evergreen foliage item with different variegations. Could Hebe be a houseplant? That is a very good question, and something I might have to trial myself this year, because last year I trialed the Spitfire coleus and had it in my house for over a year. So it'd be interesting to try those Hebes as a houseplant. I didn't think of that. And yes, Angelonia for your climate would be a summer plant, because I believe you drop off pretty quickly in temperature, whereas here our transition's much slower. So we keep
do so you can, but ours blooms late, and we really need that summer heat to get it to flower. But in Ontario, it lasts into the fall, even with the cooler nights, like not cold nights.
We have it. Usually we can have it in full bloom and selling it at the end of May. And I had it last year until the first week of November.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, slingshot petunia more vigorous. It's a little bit more vigorous, but it's a little bit more flatter on top, more like a headliner. You know, our new Sure Shots create a ball, and headliners can be a little less of a ball on top. That's what slingshot is. It's more like a headliner. If you think of headliner lipstick, that's what slingshot is. And I know you use headliner lipstick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to quickly type in my email, and then anyone can send me off questions, and I'm going to send this to you, Michael, as soon as we get off the call.
Lovely. Thank you very much. And we will share it on the forum. And of course, you know, we can all, Mirza, when somebody uses YouTube and looks at the greenhouse, at the chat, will they see the presentation the way we see it, or do they see our faces?
Yeah, presentation they will see,
Okay,
but not the chat box. So if
okay. So there's still an advantage of joining live rather than watching it later.
That's
Okay, thank you everyone for having me.
okay, thank you. Take care.
Okay.
It was a real pleasure.
Okay.
We'll see you later this summer.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
All right. We are ready for Michael, for Dr. Ghulam Mustafa.
Yes. Well, you introduce him, you know,
Yeah.
and then, but maybe first share, allow him to share his screen.
Yeah, he's allowed. Yeah.
Okay.
Dr. Sahib, you could, I use the word Dr. Sahib. That's a respectful word for Your Excellency, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have the pleasure of knowing him through LinkedIn first, and then we met him at our greenhouse conference in Red Deer. We always known about Copert and other companies, but it was always discovery for me that a person I know is running a company, Grow Live Biologicals, and so he will talk about even before we started officially, we were talking about different type of insects, and new thrip has come up. So yeah, so please give us whatever information you have, share with us. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone. So my name is Ghulam Mustafa. This is the company Grow Live Biological. We started in 2014, following the question that why biocontrol fails sometime and why it works very well sometime. Me and my wife, Dr. Abda Nasreen, we both were working at that time in 2011, 12, 13 with Canada Food and Agriculture, had a research station. And we got a chance to work with the biocontrol efficiency, with the freshness and the imported products. So we compared them. This project was originally sponsored by OGVG, and NSERC was in that. And we found that the biologicals having, the locally lab reared are performing excellent, and which we were importing from, and they have some storage impacts, the travel impacts. So they are getting weaker in their activity and they were not performing very well. There was a huge difference between the lab reared and the imported products, offshore products. So this inspired us that because we both were a PhD in entomology and we had some background in the biocontrol back home in Pakistan. So we thought that we should try this and help out here to make assurance in the biocontrol strategies. So that's why we started in 2014, and this company was started from a basement at our, the farmhouse. So now it is the 36,000 square feet area that is under various buildings. These all buildings belong to Grole Biologicals. And in these all buildings, we are producing 13 different insect species, including the bumblebees for the pollination purpose. And at this facility, we have 24 people working here. Those are, some are the PhD, some are graduate, some are workers. So all together, that's our team, which is now working here. So there are certain observations which we made around that when we start the greenhouse, every time we restart the ecosystem in the greenhouse. And in this event, we have to start clean. And we need, and the other situation which we experience that when we start the clean, our greenhouses are very clean, but we have to get the stuff from the other. We have to import some cuttings. We have to import some stuff from various greenhouses. We don't know what happened over there. Is there any chemical? Is there any pest on that? Which need a very keen inspection on that. And we should know if we want to go with the biocontrol, we should know what residues are already on our crop over there. The basic thing when we have the crop, monitoring is a key. We have to monitor what's going on in our greenhouse before starting. When we clean up after that, we do the monitoring, hanging the sticky cards over there, and then we walk through the crop during the crop events, and we know what's going on, what kind of insect pest is coming over there. So looking at the pest, when we see that there is a thrips, so one thrip in a small greenhouse is very good start for starting a big population of the thrips or the pest. Thrips usually lay eggs in the inside the leaf tissue, which hatch, and it completes its life cycle depending upon the temperature and food availability. So it completes its life cycle between 8 to 28 days. And if in the summer situation, it reproduce faster, it develop faster. So apparently, when you have the temperature around 25 degrees Celsius or above 20 degrees Celsius, you can expect that one thrips can go more than can produce more than 6,000 individuals within the 8 weeks period. So this is from the one female thrips. There are many biocontrols which are available to control the thrips. We use Stridulolabs, that is known as the Hypoaspis, Swisky, Cucumaris, Dicyphus aspis, and Aureus. These are the main products which we are using against that. There are various ways of using these kind of products, which we will talk in the latest slides. If we're talking about the aphid has the similar way of the development. In 8 weeks, one aphid female can raise up to 10,000 individuals. So that is a huge explosion. And if after 8 weeks you are getting the winged aphids, that is disaster. So the right way is that when we have a small population of the aphid colonies, that would be the right time to start the biocontrol. Biocontrol is always the preventive, but if we have go to the curative, and even curative is when the population is low. When population is like a winged stage, so it is way beyond the biocontrol capacity. There are various predator and parasitoids which are effective. Looking at this map, so Aphidius, it just go after the nymph stages. Aphidolates, it starts from the eggs, and if sometimes the aphid lays the eggs, but usually it lays the young ones. Egg hatch inside the body of the aphid. The eggs are laid only when it is going to the diapause status. Green lacewing, similar way, lady beetles, Dicyphus aspis, and Aureus insidus, these all are the good predators against the aphids, but we have to choose which we can bring in abundance with the low cost. So that is the priority. We use the aphid banker plant systems for that. We use the eggs on jute string. These are the lacewing eggs on jute strings. That's our unique product. We use aphid banker plants. This is the chariot aphid, which is on the wheat grass, and we make it available for the Aphidius species to colonize on that before the aphid comes in the greenhouse. Again, whitefly is the issue in certain areas. Similar way, whitefly development is very faster. So it even 8 weeks, the one individual can go up to 40,000 individuals during that. It is the fastest growing pest if remain unchecked. Its egg laying capacity is around 8 to 20 eggs even per day. We have the whitefly controlling different parasites such like Encartia, Eretmoceras, and the general predator, green lacewing, Chrysoperla carnea. Telphastis is a beetle, Dicyphus aspis. that we use in the banker plant system, and Aureus insidiosus, this works on that too. Even the predatory mites such as the Swisky is a good control against the whitefly. It predates on the whitefly eggs vigorously. Spider mites. So spider mite is many people are too much scared in certain crops. Particularly, I saw some ornamental plants. They even sensitive to very few number of the spider mites. They start making a small galls on back of the plant, and that is particularly in certain species of the ornamental plants, geranium-like. But normally it just puncture the leaf and create some pin-like necrotic spots which come together, and ultimately they can cause withering of the leaf where they are in abundance, and they create a web on them. There are not many effective predators against this except the Phytocilus persimilis. That is a really good predator, which we say that it never fails against spider mites. Second to that is the Californicus, which we use as a preventive product, and to some extent Dicyphus hesperus is also create a prevention if it is well established. Fungus gnat is another issue when in most of the nurseries, when there is growing in the soil medium, there is a puddling of the waters. Sometimes they are too much troublesome. So to control this fungus gnat, we need to strengthen the ground predators such as the Hypoaspis and the Delosia, which is usually called the Atheta. Only egg, larvae, and pupae are available to the predators. The adults are flying, so they are out of the range of the predators. So to control the adults, we need to trap them on the sticky cards. They are very much attractive to the sticky cards on that way, sticky tapes and sticky cards. So now, what are the challenges we have while starting the biocontrol in the greenhouse system? Particularly in case of the bedding plants, we have a diverse mix of the plant species and cultivars. So like monoculture crops, vegetable crops, it is quite different scenario in terms of the decision making. If we have to use the chemicals, in some cases, definitely we should choose the selective chemicals or chemicals which are compatible with the insecticides. But usually based on our previous experience and when we are in the haste, we use non-selective chemicals that causes the failure of the biocontrol process. Sometimes we have the issue of the quality, which in the start, as I mentioned, that when we are importing the products, those are exposed to low temperature, starvation, long traveling, they lose their vigor. They are not as much efficient in most of the cases, or in some cases, And sometimes we find them very good. So this is the uncertainty which we may face because of the aging and the effect of the transportation on the biocontrols. Sometimes we have the poor planning. We don't start the biocontrol right on time, and when we start, it is already too far. We have the pest population going on, but we understand that, oh, we can control, we have to introduce this much. Even sometimes consultant tell us a different number. We choose, okay, spend this much, and then we cut the corners on that situations. We do the poor calculation of the magnitude of the problem, and resultantly, we have to chase, and that is not possible to control the problem in that way. According to our perception, the biocontrol strategy have almost 5 or 6 events which we usually consider while preparing the biological controls. Number 1, as we discussed already, the sanitation and disinfection, that is a big focus. When we clean, we need to clean most of the debris. But I noticed in the nurseries, and we carry the old plants, which we have to in some cases. So we should put the focus on them. We have to colonize with the bioagents even during the winter period. After sanitation, the second step is the strengthening of the soil predators. Soil predators are Delosia, known as Atheta. We sell it as Athilif. And the second soil predator is the Hypoaspis, that is Strachio. These are the predatory mites. Third system which we focus on as a preventive applications, that is a banker plant system. And then we have the preventive biocontrol applications, and then we have the curative biocontrol applications. Based on the strengthening the ground predators, we usually recommend this, the Hypoaspis and the Athilif. These guys are the ground predators. Hypoaspis we recommend usually 30 per square meter or 15 to 20 per pot when you scoop out. These are in peat moss stuff. For Atheta, we usually provide the breeding buckets. These breeding buckets are good for 8 weeks in your system, and 1 bucket is good for 500 square meters. The second, which I would do with the startup of the crop, that is establishment of the banker plant system. In the banker plant system, we usually use the sweet alyssum, wheatgrass, mullein plants, and the bean trap plants. Alyssum is good for the Oreos. If we leave with the start of the crop, we start the alyssum. When it is blooming well, we introduce about 10 individuals of the Oreos on each banker plant. So then we let it grow unless we spray. So they are very good pollen producing plants, and they have the nectars in that. So they are attractive to some thrips also. Oreos thrive on these plants very well. Aphid banker plant, that is the wheatgrass, carrying about 500 plus cherry-oat aphids, and this is the this aphid is not infesting the broadleaf crops at all. The grass are ornamental grass. It can go after those grass, but not that aggressively. If we have the good colmani population going on that, either aphidius species, but we usually use the colmani on that. So then we can use them very effectively. This is also recommended for one plant for 100 square meter. Similar way, the alyssum, one plant for 100 square meter, and this aphid banker plant is one plant for 100 square meter. Alyssum is good throughout the season, throughout the year. Once a year, you can introduce the alyssum, and it is good throughout your season. But for the aphid banker plants, we have to replace the aphid banker plants every 4 weeks, introduce new one, 4 weeks. I would suggest that if we are introducing the one for 100 square meter, after 4 weeks, we will introduce one for 200 square meter. So that way we will going on after 4 weeks repeating. And when we have the aphid banker plants over there, we will introduce the colmani as 0.1 per square meter, unless it is well established on those banker plants. Usually it takes 4 weeks. Mullein banker plants, this is the mullein plants, and we introduced the dicyphus on that. This is good control, provide good control against many things, like mainly whitefly. It suppressed the spider mite, and it suppressed the thrips too. It suppress, not even suppress, very well control the aphid and psyllids, etc. So this is whole system is the backbone of our biocontrol system, having the banker plant system in your greenhouse. Introducing of the bean plants as a trap for the early detection of spider mites. Bean plants, usually I would recommend to have one on every 100 square meter, and then multiple times sowing after 8 to 10 weeks, we can resow in the area. Resultantly, we have the plants growing on throughout the crop season. And when there is an early spider mite infestation on those, and we can use them for the production of persimilus over there too. So that way, this system is a permanent preventive system which could prevail in your greenhouse situation. Then we have the startup applications of the predatory mites. Predatory mites, we have one predatory mites mixture available that is called the Calcivi. Calcivi is a mixture of the Californicus and Swirsky. We sell in one tubes. So you are applying at one time, but the both predatory mites, one is for the thrips and other for the spider mites. And we found it very much effective when we sprinkle on top of the plants. We usually recommend the application of the Calcivi starting from the 2nd week of your planting, and then application after every 2 weeks. And the application is just 25 mites per square meter. So it depends upon how big is your area. So we can sprinkle them on the plants every 2 weeks after, starting from the second week of the planting. There are other options too. We have the Californica sachets. We provide the Swiss key. These all products which we are offering, we produce in our facility, which I showed you earlier. We have the Swiss key in loose too, Californicus in loose too, cucumaris. And the preventive application, another method is the breeding pile system of the cucumaris. Particularly when we are doing in the hanging baskets, we apply approximately 5 ml, like a 1 teaspoon on each hanging basket in the bottom of the plant. So it will help as a breeding pile, or we can use this one if not in the hanging basket, in the bed, we can use 1 teaspoon for 1 square meter. This preventive system, which includes, I'm just repeating again, the soil predators, banker plant system, and preventive application of the calcivis continuously. If we still got some issues coming up, outbreak in when the season is progressing. So we have the further tools like the curative applications. Curative application, I usually use the 2 elements mainly. The number 1 is the Persimilus against the spider mite. When we have the spider mite outbreak or spider mite start, we use the Persimilus. I would use approximately 5 to 7 Persimilus per square meter for 3 to 4 weeks consecutively, unless we have the good establishment in the greenhouse system. If we have the outbreak of the aphid, after we spotted the aphid over there, so I would use the green lacewing. Green lacewing is a general predator, Chrysoperla carnea. Usually we can use it in the egg farm and we can use them as a larvae. But I would recommend here to use eggs, about 5 to 10 eggs per square meter. Weekly application unless the aphid is controlled. And we have the backup system for that. The aphidia system is already going on as a banker plant system. Somehow, if we have the outbreak of thrips came up, so then we have to, and it is in summer time, long days, we have to introduce their aureus insidiosis. And that goes about 7 to 10 per square meter to control any outbreak pick. But apparently, as a preventive, we have this aureus in the system in terms of on the alyssum, which can take care of the problems in most of the cases. But still, we can expect any outbreak due to any reason. We introduce some stuff in our greenhouse, which is infested with that pest. We have the close by greenhouse, which had a big infestation of those pests, and they flew away, and we are sharing the problem with them. So these kind of situations, we introduced some non-selective chemical which killed our whole bio program, and then we are facing, development or outbreak of the pest over there. So these are the certain scenarios where we can face some outbreaks. Thank you. This is the everything which I can offer so far. I didn't made the cost analysis for you guys. Probably that can come up with the questions, or you can with your particular situation, you can ask me through the email. I can write my email here. So that's the case.
Dr. Saab, let's go with, there are a few questions there. If you go to the chat, you could read it, or I could read it. You could stop sharing, and maybe I could read for you. First question is, how does hypoaspis compare to aureus for thrips control?
There is no comparison. Both are the complementary.
Okay.
Because the aureus pick up the stages of the thrips which are on the foliage.
Right.
Particularly adult thrips is the main target of the aureus, and the larval stages also. But the hypoaspis is taking care of the pupal stage of these thrips, which is usually in moist location on the soil. So hypoaspis take care of that. This is the difference between the two. And they are complementary. I usually recommend that when we start our system, our plants, so we should have the hypoaspis. This is a base of our biocontrol system. Aureus, if we apply direct on the plants, it would be reactive. But I would say that we can keep the aureus in the system on the banker plant system, as I said, on the sweet LSM. So we very little introduction on the sweet LSM will keep this good bug in our system. And whenever the things are coming up, it will chase and it will take up them.
And the aureus also will control aphids and whitefly?
The aureus is a general predator.
Okay.
So aureus usually it is known for the thrips control because it is best against the thrips.
Okay.
But the aphid and whitefly, yeah, it feeds on the aphids and whiteflies too, and very effective. Yeah. Even it can control the ligas too. Yeah.
Next question, what's the minimum temperature and light you need for beneficial to work?
The activity threshold is 16 degrees Celsius. That is the activity threshold for most of the insects and living individuals. But various biocontrol agents have their various, the requirements. The most important thing which I would say that is the humidity. If we have the dry environment, beneficial will not thrive very well. So our humidity level should be more than 60% in general, but if it is 70% or plus minus, it is even good. Light levels is for the diapasing guys, particularly if I'm talking about the aureus, light is a crucial, because it needs a minimum 12 hours to breed in the system. If it is less than 12 hours, we need not to introduce the aureus. It is a wastage of the money. So alternatively, for low light and low light period, we have the going on in the system, the dicyphers that will work on your moline plant system. So that is non-diapasing species, and it can stay in the system even in the low light, though it is breeding very slowly. At the very low temperature, the ground predators are good. They don't go into the diapas, particularly if I'm talking about the hypoaspis and atheta. So they don't go into the diapas. They stay in the system. They have better cushion to go a little bit down in the layer and get the away from they can get the insulation from the cold temperature. Predatory mites particularly, sorry?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, continue.
The predatory mites particularly, we prefer that cucumaris when you have the low temperature a little bit, but again, the Swiski is a more vigorous if your temperature is about above 18 and 19 degrees Celsius, then Swiski can work even better than the cucumaris. And if your temperature is below 16 and we are expecting the more mortality, then we will introduce the cheaper product, that is the cucumaris. That's why we recommend that when you start your crop, so put the cucumaris as a pile breeding system. So right underneath on the medium, underneath the plant base. So that will be good to go.
And Michael is asking, will the Dicephus be already on the mullen plots when you send them, or we grow the mullen plots and you send the Dicephus to release on them?
No, I would recommend that the mullen plants you guys grow at your, because shipping is definitely, your flower guys can grow these all banker plants easily.
Right.
So you can grow your mullen plants and the seed is easily available. Even one of the guy from Alberta asked me to send where I can get the seed. Seed is everywhere you can find. This is a weed outside,
Yeah, okay.
at least in Ontario. So then, so we can grow it over there, and we will introduce about 10 Dicephus per plant when it is a 6 to 8 leaf stage. So we introduce 10 Dicephus and we breed them, putting the bug feed on those mullen plants. Okay. So that way it goes.
Question. Shipping to Alberta, of course, like any other shipping, will be standard. How do you ship? They're pretty well insulated, or with a ice pack, or what is the standard procedure?
We are shipping right now from the Nova Scotia to Florida.
Okay, okay.
And we are on our online. A lot of orders are from the Alberta too, that we ship every day. And we make according to the weather and environment. In winter, we make the signature required, particularly for the home, but for the business, it is not necessary, because only the problem comes when the courier leave it outside in the harsh weather. Right. Usually it is insulated with the papers, insulated sometimes if necessary for the styrofoam. If needed, we put the heat pad. If needed, we put the, the ice pack. So this is according to weather, it is all the time changing.
One other question, would you give packages, or packages mean that if I need aphids to be released for my crop, can you say, okay, week 1, this is what will ship, week 2, this is what will ship, week 3, this will be the cost. Is that would be a standard practice as well?
We are not, our customers are not going on that. I know that in Alberta, there are some customers asking to do that way, and they have a set orders bi-weekly. Okay. But as I said that if we are going on the plan like we did every event as I described in the presentation, then we might not need to go on that route. For example, if I said that for the aphid control, we have the banker plant system. Yeah. And for that banker plant system, for 4 weeks, we are putting the aphidius 0.1 per square meter, 0.1 per square meter, not point, sorry, yeah, 0.1 per square meter. And we keep it usually for 4 weeks, unless we have the good amount of mummies developed on the banker plants, then we need not to introduce because we have the internal system is gone. We're just introducing the new plants with that. Okay. And if we have the aphid, we detected the aphid, and we will apply lacewing eggs or larvae. If it is advanced problem, then we will apply the larvae. If it is a start of the problem, we will apply the eggs, because eggs need time to hatch too. So resultantly, that we go about 3 to 4 weeks. It should control everything within 3 to 4 weeks. That's the application. We need not to go year round or regular that way. If we stable.
Yeah. One question. Other companies are charging around $100 per shipment on top of the basic shipment of crypto. So what is, you have an extra shipping cost included?
Yeah, you know, if you go on the growlive.com,
yeah.
So on the growlive.com, we have our online shop.
Okay.
That shop is whatever the price is over there. If you are buying, I guess over 50, I'm not sure exactly, over $50 or what is the amount, then the shipping is included. Shipping is free.
Okay.
Otherwise, for the small packaging, the courier companies are, because we are shipping a lot, we have a good deals from the courier companies.
Right.
For Alberta, for example, if I would say that the package is about 8 into 6 into 6, the small package, 1 to 2 pounds weight package, that package usually we ship between $25 to $30 on that area.
Okay.
Maximum is in the BC. BC is the more charging. With the remote area, if it goes to the remote area, there are a few dollars extra, but it is around that.
And do you grow all the beneficials in Ontario?
The beneficials, which I mentioned here on top here, we grow all. Even these are not all. We grow them here in Ontario, Amherstburg.
Yeah. Please share the contact information for you, Dr. Saab. Your was it in the presentation somewhere, or you want to type in the chat box?
I guess I will chat in the.
Yeah, but put in the website as well, and also please point out that you have a very good brochure available. I have a copy downloaded from him. I could provide to anybody who drops me an email. Or is it on your website as well? That
yeah, growlive.com. I will put in the chat.
Yeah,
where I lost the chat.
Did you?
No, you have to go to the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay,
it.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, grow, live, biz at outlook.com. Okay, got it there. So I'm reading it for record purposes. Grow, live, GROWLIVBIZ at outlook.com. And as I mentioned, I could always forward you a copy of that very good information material with pictures. And you're always welcome to write to them or to me, and I'll send you a copy.
Yeah, the contact information is you can find on the website too, on that brochure too. This all information is available over there too.
And the phone number is there as well, 519-992-8248.
Yeah.
Excellent. Really appreciate that for your time. You're already close to your sleeping time.
Yeah, thank you very much. So it's good, no problem. So any of your audience have any question anytime, so we are good. And our one person who is dealing with the web shop, she's always on the phone and answering the calls, and particularly she's dealing with the home garden peoples, and they have many questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gulam.
Okay.
Have a great evening.
Thank
Good
you.
evening. Good evening.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Michael, last time you missed it, so why don't we go ahead with you?
Oh,
And
okay.
if time permits, then I will do that. So let's go ahead. What's going on in the greenhouse?
Okay.
You have the permission. I made you co-host.
Okay.
Good, we got you there.
Okay. Let's see here.
That's only one picture there, we see.
Yeah, just a second here. I'm just trying to, where was it here?
Oh, there's a PowerPoint. Good, good, good.
Okay. Can you see this?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So this is week 12 at AGGA Greenhouses. And I took a few snapshots in the greenhouse. And for what is shipping to further away places is absolutely a phenomenal amount. So there's plants wall to wall. Today on Monday, we spend time picking all the plants that we need for certain group of trucking companies or a certain area, and we gather those all up on carts. And then we check them all. Every tray gets checked and patched if it needs to be patched. And then tonight yet I will line all of them up, water them, and then tomorrow morning we will start boxing things. So the boys are working till 8:30, so they're just done now. And we'll have all the cardboard boxes made, or at least some of them. And everything should be cleaned when I get back to the greenhouse to put things, start preparing for tomorrow. So that's what that looks like. In the greenhouse today, I took some pictures, and this is what we call the trilogy crop. So the trilogy peppers are three varieties of peppers growing in 3 strips of 25 each. And I find out that some growers are just using these for like 1 gallon peppers or something because they're quite early. But the original idea is that you take 3 of the different varieties and put them together in a large container, like a 5-gallon pot or a 12-inch container, and grow 3 different varieties of peppers together, so that the homeowner you could put a tomato cage on or a peony cage, that the homeowner has the ability to grow 3 peppers on a patio or a small space in their garden. So it's some of it's for urbanites, and but otherwise, on your deck you could have a large pot with 3 peppers. We also do the same thing with tomatoes. So this is what one of our benches looks like with the pansies. So in the front is a couple trays of impatiens. Then there's a whole bunch of pansies, and in 2 different seedings. So there is some pansies at the front, a little bit bigger. Towards the end of the bench is more pansies that are a little bit smaller. They're probably ready in a couple of weeks from now. Same thing here. This is a bench of marigolds. These are all in trays that are originally are a 512 tray. That's how we sold them. But we found a company that can take a 512 tray and cut it in half in the middle. So we can grow 200, so half of 512 was 256 cells. So the 256 cells, we can break the 512 tray in half and ship you a cell that is the size of a 512, but the strip is only half as wide. And that way we can get 2 strips side by side on one shelf in a box. And that increases dramatically the amount of varieties you can buy. And in a lot of cases, growers are not growing as many 606s or cell pack plants anymore. More things are growing in a larger container, hanging baskets, planters, that kind of thing, for the consumers. And but there's still a need for a 606 or a cell pack, I should say. And with that, we have responded to our customers' requests and say, we would like to have a plant that's the size of a 512, so that it's economical to ship and buy, and use it in a cell pack. And we found a way to find a tray that that gives you that cell size, but only half the plants are required. So you can buy more varieties, you can buy more colors, and still have an excellent selection of cell pack annuals for spring, while not buying too many seedlings of each of the kinds. So what we found is that in 2023, we increased a fair amount of varieties in colors. So we do more colors of impatiens, more colors of pansies, and more series of pansies, more series of portulaca and lobelia and all these kinds of things, snapdragons. But with that, you can now have more selection of 606s or cell packs on your bench. And then my last slide is this one here. And if you look on the leaves, so this is a canna that originally had some, that we found a few aphids on. But here, where my cursor is, or here actually, is a little bit better to see here. Why is my thing like this? Is a brown dot. And although we use beneficials, but not for aphids. We use beneficials for fungus gnats and short flies, because that's our number one enemy under high humidity and under warm temperatures. The short flies and fungus gnats thrive. So that's our number one enemy. And to control those, we use beneficials. We use nematodes, and we use cucumeris. And then a couple of years ago, I showed Mirza a picture, and I said, what is this brown thing here? And he said, it's a mummified aphid. So a coal miney came along and parasitized this aphid. And I said, we never released any coal minies. So we came to the conclusion that coal miney could be a native coal miney, maybe not the one that was reared, in Ontario or wherever you buy your beneficials from, but it could be a native one. But what it showed us was that because we're using less chemicals and more beneficials at AGGA greenhouses, these native beneficials have a chance to establish. If you just use chemicals, then you're just killing the good and the bad insects. So having used less chemicals allowed for some of these native beneficials who that are around to penetrate the crop and help you get rid of some of the aphids. So that was my last slide, Mirza. That was the one I was going to show 2 weeks ago. This one here with that mummified aphid on it, due to the coal mining.
Michael, there's one question in the chat. If you sharing, and Levi has a question there.
How soon do you recommend plugs to arrive to plant once they arrive? So I would like to say that when you get a shipment of live plants from anybody, from any young plant supplier, there is going to be a bit of a variation in size of the plants. Like, we're dealing with live material, and although young plant suppliers work very hard to get things the same size in your boxes. So all your osteos will be the same size, all your wave petunias are the same size, and all your calibrachoa are the same size. That doesn't always happen. There is a cost to shipping. So if something is a little bit smaller, we will still decide to send it sometimes rather than back ordering it, because back ordering is expensive. You would have to pay again for shipment and drive to a trucking depot, for a back order. So if we can avoid a back order, we will. But what happens is you will get in your shipment certain species that are not all 100% the same size. So if you can, evaluate everything after it's unpacked and go like, well, what needs the longest time to grow? things like Dracaena spikes or ornamental grasses. So I would pot those up first, and they're usually, good size, easy to handle. And then I would evaluate and go like, okay, what do I plant next? And what can sit for a couple of 2 or 3 days? And of course, that means that you may have to water it a little bit more often because the plants are smaller and they're more delicate, and they could stand a little bit more, growing a few more roots. But the practicality of it is that not all the plants in your shipment will be 100% the same. It would be nice if they were, and like I said, we all strive for that. But realistically, there might be a couple of things that are a tiny bit smaller, just to save you, some freight and effort. So to make a short story long, if you can start planting immediately after the plants arrive. They do not. Some growers used to say like, oh, they need to sit for a couple of days to get them over the shock of transport. Well, there's a shock of transport and there's a shock of transplanting. So you may as well get it all over with at the same time. So whatever can be transplanted right away, do that. But if you find something in your shipment that could sit on your heat bench for a couple of days, wait till after the weekend, till you get everything else planted and watered and looked after, then plant that, So hopefully
Great,
that's
Michael.
the question we got.
Could you stop sharing and then I'll start my.
I will stop sharing. Okay, there we go.
Perfect. Okay, I think I still have some time to share my story as well. Okay, quickly we'll go through it. Before I start, I like to say, Debbie, are you still there? Congratulations on a very nice covering in Greenhouse Canada magazine. As always, love to see Albertans being pictured. And then I have an article on energy there. So we are well represented across the country. So thumbs up for Debbie, excellent job. Okay. Geranium with some speckling on leaves, calcium deficiency fertilizers, lettuce with tip burn, use of B9 as a growth regulator. Just a reminder, all previous chats on YouTube. This is the link here. So this one will also be there, so don't forget that. Okay, all right. The person sent me those tip burn in Dracaenas. This is the picture. There are two types of tip burn. Some are a little bit yellowish in color. Some are pure white. So when I address them, basically, Dracaenas, they're very, very sensitive to fluorides. They could come with water. They could come with some fertilizer, especially if there's a superphosphate in the growing mix, it has some fluoride. So if it's more than 1 part per million, then generally that's start called tip burn. But fluoride tip burn is a little more orangey tip burn. If it's a low relative humidity situation, then you will see a whitish tip and then progressing on the edges. Sometimes it's very common because in the greenhouse, our humidity in winter is very low. Drying out of the growing media, Dracaena don't like it as well. Acid pH below 5.5 will uptake of some trace element could cause that. High conductivity above 3 millisiemens will cause that. And then pesticide toxicity is also possible on these Dracaenas. A very good eGrow newsletter I get, and very timely in volume 12. Number 15, there was a good pictures on phytotoxicity from spray chemicals. So it's worth looking into that magazine. This is a pesticide application on geraniums, totally turning white and malformed. This is a phytotoxicity from a pesticide application, leaf edge burn and necrosis on gerberas. Then phytotoxicity from a pesticide application, leaf discoloration like this here. Phytotoxicity from a pesticide distortion of leaf and new growth or new giddy impatient, but this can also be confused with calcium deficiency. So you got to, because what happened is some pesticide will damage the young tissue, and when the leaf is expanding, so then they become like this. So you got to know what did you spray. There were a couple of good pictures on pesticide application on Calibroca flower. They lost color here. And then example of symptoms of phytotoxicity, this spotting on Gerberas. Pretty busy, few things here and there. Hi, Dr. Mirza. I planted 19 of these strawberry sky petunias. I noticed a few with what looks like spider mite webs at the base. I tried to take good photo, but it's hard to do. The one without the arrow, you can see this other picture. But the moment I noticed that where my cursor is, there's a perlite hanging. So spider mite web don't have that perlite hanging. So spider mite web will never be on the plug. So here's an example. If the spider mite web, they will be looking like this. So that is you have gone too far with them, no chance of recovery. So that web was a spider web, and many times those are the good spiders. They grab the fungus gnats as well in their web there. So that was kind of interesting. This was the plants are, this picture is sent to the grower. Plants are starving, they are nitrogen deficient, a little bit of potassium is indicated as well. Could benefit from a fertilizer. Leaf curl likely is a cold temperature will do that. Fluctuation in humidity could do that as well. A little bit of magnesium is also coming up where my cursor is. Lower leaves, the veins are green and intervenial, winter areas yellow. And primarily the reason is that some people are using 2020 fertilizer. Some of the classical 2020 doesn't have any magnesium in there. So we got to watch what we are doing. Some aphids were reported on some petunias. I'm glad they were able to spot them much early, so they could take the action right away. In my last chat, I did show this picture, but after grower said, I noticed this over the weekend, I think is a virus. Is there anything we could do short of destroying the whole crop? I said, no, it doesn't look like a virus. Please take a pH and EC reading by pouring water through. And then the results came in, and lo and behold, 4 randomly selected plants. And I also tested the supply water. All reading was obtained by testing the water that drains. So look at the pH 5.4, that's really very low. Conductivity high, 5.7. So when on geranium, when the pH like this, then very early signs of that speckling starts. Later on, they will die off. But if you notice how small pinhead injury, that's the iron accumulation. So that was what the issue. So this grower was using 2020 fertilizer, using their guide, their supply, so gave me the information. This was made February 11th, have not tested since. Please let me know what requires that. So I suggested switch the fertilizer program from 2020 to 5627. That's one of the fertilizer. And as we mentioned that this 5627 is a professional gardener makes. Michael has very good nature source. So basically, all I wanted is that nitrate, nitrogen more than ammonium, and then we calculated the stock solution. But generally, calcium is lacking. So when I went and checked the label on that, I'll share you that as well. So is a plant product, this is what she was using, is a general purpose water soluble fertilizer, is very effective in all types of plant, is balanced formula may be used whenever a more. See, balanced formula, but it doesn't have any calcium, it doesn't have any magnesium. It is high percentage of ammonium nitrogen, urea nitrogen, will provide a rapid green up. So normally, it in my opinion, should not be used at the early stages. So when I look at the label, 20% total nitrogen, 5% nitrate, 3.9 ammonium, urea very high. So this will instant soft growth will occur. No calcium, no magnesium. Some 2020 formulation I've seen by some other company have some magnesium, but calcium cannot be added there.
So
So-
Mirza,
Yeah.
can you back up to that slide, the other one?
This one?
Yes. So what should be said is that, there's three types of nitrogen: nitrate nitrogen, ammonium nitrate, and urea nitrogen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And for slow and controlled growth, nitrate nitrogen level, is the one you want to be looking at. The ammonium nitrate and urea nitrate, yes, they're nitrates and they make the plant green, but often they will also make the plant soft and stretchy.
Absolutely.
So you've lately been recommending that 20 could be used as a starter fertilizer, instead of 10-52-10. Because 52 is quite high for phosphorus, because there is other side effects to using a lot of phosphorus, and that is that the plant will also stretch. So if you can use fertilizers like, Mirza's 5-6-27, you can see that the middle number is quite low, and that is beneficial for a more controlled and slower growth. And even though it's not a high number and people go like, oh, you need phosphorus to get root development, that is a bit overrated, that because with the 5-6-27 or even 20 can be used as a starter feed. But then you'd want to switch away from 20 from the 20 and use something like 5-6-27 or even Nature Source, for a better controlled growth. And you showed in an earlier slide that person had only one injector, and you have to again mention that fertilizer that contains potassium cannot be mixed with fertilizer that has calcium in it. So
No, not potassium, phosphate and sulfate.
Phosphate. Sorry.
Yeah.
And so that cannot be mixed, in one barrel. So if you only have one injector and you want to use any kind of fertilizer, whether it's Nature Source or 5-6-27 or 20, in order to get the calcium and magnesium into your crop, then you could still use one injector, but then pick 2 days a week that you will drop the suction hose from your injector from one barrel into the next. So then you could still use one injector and you're feeding at least some calcium nitrate some of the time. But better is to have a dual injector system where you're feeding calcium one time and all the other elements out of another barrel, with the other injector head.
Good point, Michael. Yeah, absolutely. The mistake we always do is don't read the label. Then these fertilizers with high ammonium nitrogen are more acidic, and geranium, after 2-3 application of 20, the pH start going down very rapidly. So we just need to be careful. Nitrate nitrogen is slightly alkaline, but urea nitrogen is almost neutral, but ammonium nitrogen will definitely start pushing your pH down. Later on, my recommendation is use this fertilizer once the light is much better after 30th of March, because then the ammonium nitrogen doesn't become toxic in the root zone. But great point, Michael, reminding on that. Okay, I have a situation with geranium that I have never had before. All of these geraniums are on the same bench. They are being fed 100 ppm of 20 and have had a treatment of iron chelates. The chlorotic ones are directly placed where the furnace forced air blows on a fan, have shut the fan off, but no change. I have grown my geranium on these benches for the last 12 years, but changed the size of the heater past year. So this is what the grower thought, that, so I said, please send a couple of pictures. Already pH and calcium deficiency symptoms are being brought to my attention from the pictures. We are going to discuss tomorrow. So when the picture was sent, they were like this, especially look at the right one. They are right way showing a calcium deficiency. It's not iron, because the new growth is almost yellow and whitish. If there's an iron deficiency, then it will be veins are green, interveinal is yellow. So I told them nothing to do with your furnace, you see. So nothing to do with the furnace. Is the calcium deficiency. 2020 does not have calcium and maybe magnesium as well. Start feeding with calcium at 1 gram per liter. Also check out 2020 label if it's got a magnesium. So I gave him the rate. Dr. Mirza, I will check and see what fertilizer have in the greenhouse. So just knowing about those fertilizer, I think, is the important part. Okay, so he said,
Mirza.
yes.
So I get those questions all the time too. I've grown my geraniums for 12 years in the same spot, and now all of a sudden, you know, they have a calcium deficiency. What would have changed that this year this grower has a calcium deficiency and other years didn't have any problems?
Yeah, likely there must be some water, calcium in their water. It was a hard water. So some calcium might be available from there. So that's quite possible as well.
In the other 11 years, you know, and then in the 12th year.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know the previous history. He might have the problem, but barely could have made it, you know, it's quite also possible. What he thought was a good quality, probably. Yeah. So
So what you're saying is that, you know, although it's worked for X number of years, it doesn't mean it's going to work all the time. You could, even under the same conditions, have, you know, deficiencies that you didn't think you had in other years.
Yeah. I think the main message is that 2022 doesn't have any calcium.
Right.
Some 2020 has some magnesium, but no calcium. So its deficiency could occur anytime. So he had 115. So I made a recommendation on that. So it was quite interesting that can I use B9? That's the other question on tomatoes. Yes, generally, most of the time tomatoes are grown at very cooler temperature, but this grower on their tumbler tomato, they want to use it. So 2 application. They also one right in after transplanting and one about 3 weeks later. My last slide, a fellow's growing lettuce, and the way he was growing at a much warmer space. So suddenly calcium deficiency occurred. This is what tip burns start coming in. So is a total loss. So I asked him to harvest them much earlier. And my last slide, today I was visiting a mushroom facility, and this fellow had a passion for growing these oyster mushroom and many other medicinal, not psychedelic, but lion's mane and other which have very powerful antioxidant. And the amazing thing is a young boy of 23 years old, he had a serious accident, and in order to cure him, I mean, they had some surgeries, but couldn't make him functional. He was, while in hospital, he was seeing the alternatives and found that oyster mushroom has high protein, has some beta glucans. And so he started experimenting, as he's fully recovered now and is growing these mushrooms, you know, so very, very interesting how people, you know, go into this business is remarkable. So I was very impressed that, the interesting thing is that he needed more oxygen, and so he has because is a grain fermented with the inoculum, so a lot of carbon dioxide produced, and so they have to bring a lot more oxygen to replace. So I was telling him that maybe the greenhouse growth could get some CO2, and incidentally, I got a note today that there's a shortage in the market of liquid CO2. Anybody has heard anything at all? We are not using much liquid CO2, but somebody just mentioned that so the liquid air have not given any statement, but the supply is low. So it's quite interesting what's happening in the marketplace. So any quick question on whatever? I think my key message is that you know about the fertilizer.
So Leslie is commenting, you know, which would coincide with why geraniums all of a sudden, you know, would behave differently. We used to raw water that changes on a regular basis. So we need to be ready for anything. And I think that is That's the message, you know, that even though you've grown your geraniums for 12 years in the same spot, doesn't
Absolutely.
necessarily mean that they're going to grow without paying attention.
Absolutely. Good
Yeah.
point.
And Vanessa's saying to confirm magnesium sulfate can be added to the fertilizer and go through one injector and calcium nitrate in the other bucket, go through the second injector. That is correct.
Absolutely. Yeah, the magnesium has to go with the other fertilizer. Calcium has to be kept separate.
Yeah. So the only thing that you be kept separate is the calcium.
Yeah, and many times large vegetable growers, because we have to use a lot of potassium nitrate, so we design a formula for them. They could add a few pounds of potassium nitrate with calcium nitrate tank, but not anything with the middle number with phosphate and sulfate. Right. So no Epsom salt is magnesium sulfate, so it cannot be mixed with calcium in the stock tank, 100 times stronger. Once in line, they are perfectly all right.
Yeah, so whoever, any of the growers that have a tank, a holding tank, where they have a pump hanging in there and they fertilize from there, they can dissolve fertilizer, add it to the tank, calcium nitrate, add it to the tank, and then go from there. But I would like to recommend that if you're using a certain volume of a granulated fertilizer, that you dissolve that in a small pail in hot water, like straight from the hot water heater, straight, you know, and then dump it in. Because taking that granular fertilizer and just hee-hoeing it into the cold water, or even if it's 10 or 12 degrees, you know, it's been sitting in the greenhouse, I don't know, you know, that the granulated fertilizer will have a way to make its way to the bottom and settle out. You know, you can't stir it. So having the calcium nitrate in particular is a little bit hard to dissolve. So using hot water, dissolving it in a smaller pail, then adding it to your large tank, you know, is good. Because even if you make, when we make calcium nitrate stock solution, we will fill our stock barrel with only hot water right from the hot water heater and nothing else, you know. So the tank, our stock tank is quite warm. And that helps dissolve the calcium nitrate quite well. Absolutely. And then Beth is asking if with two injectors, does it matter which order the fertilizer is injector? You know, nature source and then calcium nitrate, or the other way around?
Yeah, the ideal is that if you have only injectors, then you will go with your, say, nitrogen fertilizer first, then calcium, and then pH adjustment. But what I've seen is, if you are mixing in a big tank everything, then I like the pH first, because you could adjust everything in there. But if you're injector, then I'd like to go with the calcium diluted, then say 5-627 first, then calcium, and then pH adjustment, then deliver to the plants.
Yeah. And Shirley is asking if there's a common name for Solanum jasminoids. Yeah, it's potato vine. And it's not potato vine. It's not potato vine like Ipomea, but it's like potato vine. And if you look at the flowers on the Solanum flower, they look like little potato flowers that you would see in the garden, Shirley.
Can you hear me, Michael?
Yeah, I can, Shirley.
Okay, sorry. So I had a customer ask me for that last year, and she said, do you have potato vine? And I'm like, oh yes, I have. And she's like, it's not the one you think, right? Nope, so right. now I've ordered this plant in, and it has one part of it was flowering, so it was a very small, tiny white flower. Is that that's it? Okay.
That's it. Does it have green leaves or variegated leaves?
It's green. Yeah.
Good. It's quite vigorous, Shirley. You know, the potato vine jasminoids, and when it gets a little bigger, it'll make clusters of white flowers. And if you look at them, they're exactly like flowers that you see on potato plants in the garden in the summer. It's from some of the same family as the potato.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So so I should be careful what I plant it with then if it's quite vigorous.
Well, it sprawls out, like it doesn't choke out things. It's more like even euphorbia or something like that. It kind of has a tendency to play well with other plants. So it does get vigorous. so it will stick out way above, something else. So it'll get big in size, but it doesn't
Okay.
choke. It doesn't choke other things out.
Okay, so it might get big like a German ivy kind of thing, but more trailing.
No, more upright because the stems get quite thick and hard, and they arch out, out through the plants. So it's a very pretty plant.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah,
And
but use it in large planters with other things that also get, big.
big. Okay, gotcha. And do you have any experience with something called sugar vine?
Sugar vine?
Yeah, sugar
No,
vine.
I don't. No, it was.
Okay.
Do you know what the botanical name is?
Yeah, it's very long, but I don't have it in front of me. It starts with
No.
PATH, path something or other. So,
Beth has her hand up.
sorry?
Whoops, did I put
Go
my hand up?
ahead, Beth. Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
Okay, I grew it last year and it grows much like a tropical and it trails. It doesn't actually climb and it's slow.
Ah, okay. Okay. Good to know. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Vanessa's asking if it's a house plant. Beth, would you consider that to be a house plant?
Yeah, I would. It looks, it's smaller than it has almost like a grape leaf type leaf to it, and grows similar to like an ivy, like a English ivy, a hedera.
Mm. Okay. Yeah, I got them in as cuttings and they're they rooted quite well actually, but I don't have any experience what to put them with. So okay.
So it's other things that are not, that vigorous. So that it can keep up and keep showing up, I guess, is the message.
The message. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Michael, any other thing which somebody wants to share? Sandra is pretty quiet. Sandra, how are the things in your part of the woods? Yes.
Still very, very white.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
we have a lot of snow. It's cold here. Oh, yeah. We have very, very large snowbanks. It's going to be a
really?
long time before it melts.
Wow.
Okay.
But we just finished all of our hanging baskets, so we're just getting ready to do another big planting this week.
Oh, good, good.
You were saying last week that the roads were even closed. So did you have like a blizzard recently?
Yeah, we had.
Blowing snow and icing.
It's been bad because they salt the roads, but the snow is level with the highway and the ditch, so it blows across the highway a lot, and then it gets icy. And they've been closing number 1 down a lot from Swift Current Pascal Lake because there's so many semis that are jackknifing, so they just shut the road down now instead of having accidents. So that's what we've been dealing with. It hasn't really delayed the plants all that much, but it's just not, it's hard for workers to come to work.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, in Edmonton, Mirza, the snow is disappearing. I saw I saw a few patches of bare pavement. The roads have been good. But it is actually still quite cold for the time of the year. Like last night was -8. We've had minus double digits up till I think tonight or tomorrow night. It's starting to start warming up a bit at night. But for March 20th, March 21st, the nights are still too cold.
Right, and that's what they're saying. In some area in Canada, there's no spring.
Oh. Well, there better be, because that's when we sell all our plants.
All right. If nothing, Michael, should we say goodbye to everybody? And always interesting, great participation, 2 great speakers from Ontario, a lot of good information, and check out the recordings. So thanks to the AGGA staff there, Lisa, who does that recordings on YouTube. So I see good good view on. I saw 75 people viewed some of the recordings, so it seemed like we have more people viewing the recording than live, I guess. So that's not.
Well, it's good, you know, because we know that more people will listen to it, and it doesn't always work for people to join in the evening. So we're glad we can offer the YouTube version. So everybody,
Okay.
good night.
Take care, everybody. Thank you again.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.